Welcome back to our cozy corner of history, dear dreamers. Tonight, we drift away to a remote island in the vast Pacific, where nearly 1,000 silent stone giants stand watch over secrets that vanished with their creators. The Moai builders disappeared as mysteriously as they arrived, leaving behind only whispers of a civilization that flourished and fell. Before we uncover what happened on Easter Island, give this video a gentle like and subscribe for more bedtime mysteries. In the pre-dawn darkness of Rapa Nui, nearly 1,000 stone giants stand in eternal vigil across this remote volcanic island. As the first light touches the rim of Rano Raraku quarry, mist rises from the crater lake like the breath of sleeping ancestors, slowly revealing the most extraordinary sight in the Pacific. Here, where skilled artisans once shaped volcanic tuff with their stone tools, 397 Moai emerge from the morning shadows. These are not merely statues, but the embodied spirits of deified ancestors, their massive forms carved to protect their descendants and ensure the fertility of this isolated land 3,700 kilometers from the nearest continent. The golden light spreads across their weathered faces, each one unique, each one a masterpiece born from the hands of master craftsmen who understood the sacred geometry of their ancestors' features. Some stand buried to their shoulders, accumulated earth from centuries concealing torsos decorated with intricate petroglyphs. Others lean at impossible angles, as if frozen mid-step in their legendary journey across the island. According to the ancient stories still whispered by the wind through the grasslands, these Moai once walked upright from this very quarry to their destined Ahu platforms, guided by the mana of their creators. The largest among them stretches 21 meters in length, a testament to the ambition and skill of the Rapa Nui people at the height of their civilization. Ocean waves crash against the volcanic cliffs in the distance, the same rhythm that has pulsed against these shores since Polynesian voyagers first arrived, navigating by stars and swells to establish their remarkable society. Sooty terns cry overhead, their calls mixing with the whisper of wind across this treeless landscape, where competing mata once vied for prestige and spiritual power. As full daylight bathes Rano Raraku, the Moai seem to stir from their nocturnal dreams, their eyes turned inland toward the heart of the island they were carved to protect. In this moment between night and day, between past and present, we can almost hear the echo of ancient chanting, the scrape of stone on stone, and the voices of the master builders who created these eternal guardians. This is where our journey into the lost world of Rapa Nui begins, in the shadow of the stone giants who hold the secrets of one of humanity's most remarkable civilizations. Masters of Stone and Sea. The sun climbs higher above Rano Raraku, illuminating the ancient workshop where nearly half of all Moai were born from living rock. Here, master carvers wielded basalt picks and obsidian blades with surgical precision, their hands guided by generations of inherited knowledge. Each Moai began as a vision held sacred by the Ariki and their mata, transformed through months of patient labor into ancestral guardians whose mana would protect the clan territories below. Watch how these craftsmen worked. First, they outlined the massive heads with careful precision, then slowly carved downward, revealing shoulders, torsos, and arms pressed tight against bodies. The largest Moai required teams of specialists working in perfect coordination, each understanding exactly how their obsidian tools should bite into the volcanic tuff. No metal touched these stones, only the patient persistence of human hands and razor-sharp volcanic glass. But creation was only half the miracle. How did statues weighing up to 80 tons journey from quarry to their destined Ahu platforms? The answer lies not in rolling logs or sliding ramps, but in the profound spiritual relationship between the Rapa Nui people and their ancestors. Archaeological experiments have revealed the truth behind the ancient oral traditions. The Moai truly did walk. Teams of skilled handlers used thick ropes woven from native grasses, coordinating their pulls in rhythmic patterns that rocked each statue forward step by careful step. 3 ropes, 3 teams, pulling and releasing in perfect sequence while the Moai swayed upright along ancient pathways still visible across the grassland. This walking motion required not just physical strength but spiritual harmony between the living and their deified ancestors whose essence inhabited each statue. The precision demanded was extraordinary. Too much force and the Moai would topple. Too little and it would stand motionless. The rope handlers chanted as they worked, their voices rising and falling with each coordinated pull, maintaining the sacred rhythm that brought ancestors to life. This mastery extended far beyond stone carving. The Rapa Nui civilization represented the culmination of Polynesian voyaging traditions that had carried their ancestors across thousands of miles of open Pacific. These master navigators read star patterns like familiar books, felt ocean swells through the hulls of their double-hulled canoes, and followed the flight paths of frigate birds toward distant lands invisible beyond the horizon. Their ancestors had discovered Rapa Nui using wayfinding knowledge accumulated across generations, memorizing the movement of celestial bodies, the behavior of ocean currents, and the subtle signs that revealed landfall long before any coastline appeared. No instruments guided them except inherited wisdom and intimate understanding of natural patterns. Once established on their remote island, the Rapa Nui people channeled this maritime expertise into creating sophisticated agricultural terraces that maximized crop yields from challenging volcanic soil. Their mata system organized society into competing clans, each controlling specific territories where they built magnificent ahu platforms to honor their ancestors and display their prestige. The Ariki who ruled these clans commanded respect not through force alone but through their connection to spiritual power that flowed from properly honored ancestors. Their civilization flourished in splendid isolation, creating innovations found nowhere else in Polynesia, including the enigmatic Rongorongo script carved onto precious wooden tablets. These were the masters of stone and sea, inheritors of oceanic traditions who transformed a remote volcanic island into humanity's most isolated center of monumental architecture. In the soft twilight hours when shadows lengthened across Rapa Nui's grasslands, the Moai stood as eternal sentinels, their weathered faces gazing inland toward the villages where their descendants slept. These were not mere sculptures carved from volcanic stone, but sacred vessels containing the mana of revered ancestors, transformed through death into protective spirits watching over the living. Each Moai embodied a specific Ariki or high-ranking ancestor whose spiritual essence had been carefully captured in basalt and red scoria. The master carvers of Rano Raraku quarry understood their sacred responsibility, chanting ancient prayers as obsidian tools shaped features that must perfectly channel ancestral power. The statues' elongated heads and prominent noses followed precise spiritual requirements, ensuring proper connection between earthly and divine realms. At ceremonial gatherings beneath star-filled skies, Rapa Nui priests would invoke these stone guardians during elaborate rituals that strengthened bonds between past and present. Rhythmic chanting echoed across ahu platforms while offerings of sweet potato and taro were presented to honor ancestors whose protection ensured successful harvests and clan prosperity. The mysterious Rongorongo script, carved into precious wooden tablets with sharp obsidian blades, recorded sacred knowledge that complemented the Moai's spiritual function. These intricate glyphs, resembling birds, fish, and human figures, preserved genealogies, ceremonial chants, and creation stories essential for maintaining cosmic balance. Only trained scribes could interpret these symbols, reading them in Bustrophidan style, alternating direction with each line like ocean waves washing over sandy shores. As generations passed, Rapa Nui's environment began changing in ways that would challenge even ancestral protection. The great palm forests that had sheltered the island since time immemorial gradually thinned as growing populations needed more agricultural space and construction materials. Each fallen tree served vital purposes: canoe hulls, house frames, rollers for transporting massive moai across the landscape. Yet the Moai continued their silent vigil, even as grasslands replaced ancient groves and ocean winds grew stronger across deforested hills. Their creators believed deeply that proper ancestral reverence could overcome any earthly challenge, that spiritual power channeled through stone guardians would preserve their unique civilization. In the gathering dusk, when frigate birds returned from distant fishing grounds and waves crashed endlessly against volcanic cliffs, the Moai embodied Rapa Nui's greatest achievement, transforming human memory into eternal stone, ensuring that ancestral wisdom would endure long after individual voices fell silent. These monuments whispered ancient truths to those who understood their sacred purpose, bridging the gap between temporal existence and spiritual permanence on humanity's most isolated inhabited island. And so the Moai stand eternal, their weathered faces gazing inland toward the villages where their descendants sleep. Through countless seasons of Pacific storms and gentle trade winds, these silent guardians have maintained their vigil, watching over Rapa Nui with the patience that only stone can possess. The Ariki who commissioned them have long since joined the ancestors they honored. The master carvers who shaped their noble features rest beneath grasslands that now carpet the island. Yet the Moai endure, carrying forward the dreams and devotions of a people who dared to create permanence in an ever-changing world. Each statue holds within its volcanic heart the memories of ceremonial chants that once echoed across these hills. The rhythm of stone tools shaping sacred features. The prayers whispered as communities gathered to witness another ancestor taking his eternal watch. These moments live on in basalt and scoria, preserved beyond the reach of time. Today's Rapa Nui people carry this legacy in their blood and breath. When ocean winds sing through the grass around Rano Raraku, they hear echoes of ancient wisdom. When sunrise bathes the Moai in golden light, they witness the same dawn that blessed their ancestors centuries ago. The statues have become bridges across time itself, connecting past to present in unbroken reverence. They remind us that love transcends individual existence, that devotion can be carved into forms so powerful they outlive empires and speak to hearts across any distance. As darkness settles gently over this sacred island, the Moai continue their endless watch. Patient as the tides. Constant as the southern stars. Forever guardian, forever family, forever home to the spirits that shaped them and the people who still call them ancestor. In their silence, they offer the deepest peace, the knowledge that some bonds can never break. The morning mist that rises from Rapa Nui's volcanic craters carries within it the faint aroma of sweet potato vines and wild grasses, the same scents that would have greeted the master craftsmen as they descended into the quarries each dawn. These artisans possessed knowledge passed down through bloodlines, understanding how to read the grain of volcanic stone the way sailors read the movement of waves. Their calloused hands could detect the slightest flaw in basalt, knowing which sections would crumble under the weight of centuries and which would stand eternal. In the workshops scattered around Rano Raraku, families of carvers worked in harmony that bordered on telepathy. A grandfather's slight nod would signal his grandson to adjust the angle of his basalt pick. The rhythmic percussion of stone against stone created complex melodies that drifted across the island, each quarry contributing its own voice to a symphony of creation. Children learned to distinguish between the sharp crack of fresh stone splitting and the dull thud that warned of hidden weakness within the rock. The selection of stone itself followed rituals lost to time. Certain outcroppings were considered blessed by ancestral spirits, their volcanic birth witnessed by the gods themselves. Carvers would spend days in meditation before choosing their raw material, sleeping beside potential Moai to receive guidance through dreams. They believed the ancestor spirits would inhabit the stone during these vigils, whispering secrets about how their features should emerge from the rough volcanic embrace. Tools bore personal significance beyond their practical function. A master carver's basalt pick became an extension of his soul, shaped by decades of use until it fit his grip like a second skin. These implements were often buried with their owners, ensuring the spiritual connection between craftsman and creation would continue beyond death. Apprentices inherited not just tools but the accumulated mana of all who had wielded them, creating an unbroken chain of sacred craftsmanship. The quarrying process revealed layers of island history preserved in stone. Different levels of volcanic deposit told stories of ancient eruptions, each stratum offering unique properties for carving. The deepest stone, formed in the island's fiery birth, was reserved for the most sacred Moai, those intended to guard the most revered burial sites. Surface stone, weathered by countless seasons, was chosen for practice pieces where young carvers learned to shape human features from unyielding rock. Water played a crucial role in the carving process, though fresh water was precious on this isolated island. Collected rainwater was used to soften the volcanic dust that filled carvers' lungs, and to wash the emerging features of each Moai as details became visible. The first glimpse of an ancestor's face emerging from rough stone was considered a moment of divine revelation, often accompanied by chanted prayers and offerings of sweet potato and fish. The Moai bore individual characteristics that reflected specific ancestors being honored. Subtle differences in nose shape, lip thickness, and ear placement were deliberate choices, not artistic variations. Families maintained detailed oral traditions about their ancestors' physical features, ensuring accurate representation in stone. Some Moai displayed barely perceptible scars or markings that corresponded to distinguishing features of particular individuals, invisible to casual observers but deeply meaningful to descendants. Evidence suggests that certain Moai were carved to face specific astronomical events, their positioning calculated to align with solstices, equinoxes, or the rising of particular star formations significant to Polynesian navigation. The island's isolation made celestial observation crucial for survival, and incorporating astronomical alignments into the Moai may have served both spiritual and practical purposes, creating permanent markers for seasonal ceremonies and ocean voyages. The inland Moai of Rano Raraku tell a different story from their coastal cousins. Here, partially buried statues reveal full bodies beneath centuries of accumulated soil and vegetation. These complete figures were loincloths carved from stone, their hands positioned in gestures of blessing or protection. Hidden beneath the earth for generations, they await rediscovery like sleeping giants, their detailed torsos decorated with spiral patterns and symbolic designs that speak of sophisticated artistic traditions. Archaeological evidence suggests that the quarry at Rano Raraku operated like a massive outdoor workshop where multiple generations of carvers worked simultaneously on dozens of Moai. The logistics of coordinating such an enterprise required sophisticated social organization, with master craftsmen overseeing teams of apprentices while specialists focused on particular aspects of the carving process. Some artisans became renowned for their skill with facial features, while others specialized in the complex geometric patterns that decorated the Moai's bodies. The transportation of completed Moai from quarry to final destination remains one of archaeology's most fascinating puzzles. Recent experiments have demonstrated that teams of workers could walk the massive statues upright using ropes and coordinated rocking motions, a technique that matches oral tradition speaking of Moai walking to their positions under their own power. The effort required dozens of people working in perfect synchronization, suggesting that Moai placement was a community endeavor that strengthened social bonds while honoring ancestors. Ceremonial pathways connected quarries to final placement sites, their routes carefully planned to avoid damaging agricultural areas and sacred locations. These ancient roads, still visible beneath centuries of vegetation, were maintained by dedicated groups who cleared stones and filled erosion channels to ensure safe passage for the walking Moai. The pathways themselves became sacred spaces, blessed by the passage of ancestral spirits traveling to their eternal homes. The collapse of Moai construction coincided with environmental pressures that tested the island's social fabric. Deforestation eliminated the massive palm trees once used for moving statues, while soil depletion reduced agricultural yields. Competition for dwindling resources led to conflicts between clans, and the cooperative spirit necessary for Moai creation gave way to survival struggles. The last unfinished statues at Rano Raraku stand as monuments to this tragic transition, their incomplete faces frozen in eternal waiting. European contact brought diseases that decimated the population, carrying oral traditions about Moai construction and meaning. Within generations, knowledge accumulated over centuries vanished with the elders who possessed it. The statues became mysteries to their own descendants, their original names and individual significance lost in the cultural disruption that followed colonization. Modern conservation efforts reveal ongoing challenges in preserving these ancient sentinels. Volcanic stone, while durable, shows vulnerability to contemporary threats including acid rain, tourism impact, and climate change effects. Conservators work carefully to stabilize damaged Moai while respecting their sacred significance to contemporary Rapa Nui people, balancing scientific study with cultural sensitivity. Recent discoveries continue expanding understanding of Moai complexity and purpose. Ground-penetrating radar reveals hidden chambers beneath some statues, while spectroscopic analysis identifies mineral variations that provide clues about carving sequences and tool technologies. Each new finding adds layers to the story of a civilization that achieved extraordinary artistic heights despite geographical isolation and limited resources. The Moai's influence extends far beyond Easter Island, inspiring artists, architects, and spiritual seekers worldwide who recognize in these ancient faces something eternal about human aspiration. Their enigmatic expressions seem to hold secrets about persistence, creativity, and the drive to create beauty that outlasts its creators. In their weathered features, observers find reflections of their own mortality and dreams of permanence. Contemporary Rapa Nui carvers maintain traditional techniques, passing skills to new generations determined to keep ancestral arts alive. Young artists learn to read volcanic stone grain and shape human features with basalt tools, connecting directly with their heritage through the ancient language of carved stone. Their work ensures that the spiritual relationship between people and Moai continues evolving rather than becoming mere historical curiosity. The Moai stand as eternal teachers, offering lessons about community cooperation, artistic vision, and spiritual devotion that transcend cultural boundaries. In their silent presence, visitors from around the world discover universal truths about human creativity and the profound need to honor those who came before. They remind us that true monuments are built not from ego but from love, creating connections across time that neither distance nor death can sever.